point, you can see the video that appears here. You can see the blue border around the video, and there is also a separate drop shadow image behind the video down here. You can change the viewing scale by using this button down here, or you can do it stepwise by clicking the plus and minus buttons down here. You can also see that the timeline is being organized vertically into layers. These layers represent the stacking orders of images as they appear on stage. For example, at this point in the show, if I were to turn off the layer that has the border by clicking the little sunshine here, you can see that the border disappears. Likewise, if I turn off the video disappears. If I turn the border back on, you can see the border, but the content of it is empty. You just see the shadow behind it, and then I turn the video back on. So that shows you how layers closer to the top of the timeline window appear closer to the viewer of the show in a front to back order. If you want to run the timeline, you just need to press the play button down in this corner, and that runs the timeline. You press it again to stop it, or you can just tap the space bar on the keyboard to start and stop the timeline. In the next episode, we will look at how to produce a watchout presentation from scratch. But before proceeding, it's probably a good idea for you to make sure that you have everything you need on your computer. You should get watchout from either the DVD-ROM or from our website and install it on your computer. By the way, it's always a good idea to check the website for the latest version, particularly if you install from the DVD, since the website often have a more recent version of the software. Note that QuickTime is required, and watchout will tell you if you need to install it. And if you do, you should download it from Apple and install it on your computer before you proceed. So having installed the software, you should also make sure you have some sample content to play around with. And if you don't already have a set of suitable images and video clips, you can download the sample presentation that we have just been looking at from our website, or you can copy it over from the watchout DVD-ROM. You need to copy it to a folder on your hard drive, since it will not play from the DVD-ROM. You can apply effects, blending modes, and masks to compositions just as you can to other media items. I have a somewhat smaller cogwheel, and if we just run it, you'll see how it works here. We have the large cogwheel spinning around, and then we have the smaller ones. And this is actually made up of a number of sub-compositions. I have one sub-composition that consists of two wheels, and then I have another sub-composition that just makes up this larger wheel here, and then I have yet another composition that puts them all together and rotates these two smaller wheels in order to build this chain of wheels here. Okay, so we have this complex, somewhat complex composition using two still images, and we want now to use it and to manipulate it using various effects, blending modes and masks and such. So let's start by changing the color of the wheels by adding a tint tween track to the cue. So we go ahead, add a tint, and pick a color, maybe kind of a steel blue tint, something like that could look nice. So that's how you could just change the color a little bit of an entire animation, including all its elements. Let's combine this with another effect. Let's apply a wipe effect to the composition as a whole as it runs. So we go back. Let's go back to where we have all the wheels here, and let's bring in a wipe effect. And we're setting the location to start from the right edge of the composition, and then we play with the completion down here, so that it appears gradually. Let's also bump up the feather a little bit, maybe to about 300 pixels. Now when we run it from here, we can see the composition playing out, and we can see it wiping out in this way. Okay, let's do one more thing. I'll start by just removing this because we don't need it for the next step. Now what I want to do is that I'm looking for a movie clip here, a video that I want to mask by the composition. So let's bring in this video clip here, and we'll put it somewhere behind the put it on the layer below, put it behind the wheels. Let's scale it up a little bit, just so it covers the wheels in this way. And then we want to turn the wheels into a mask. Let's go back also to where we have the wipe effect. Okay, so that should work nicely. So we go into the video clip, and we want it to be masked by the layer above. And I think in this case, well, it looks kind of nice actually with having the wheels still being visible. Typically you would turn off the visibility of the wheels. If I could do that here, and if I turn them off, you see that we see only the movie that plays behind. But I'd like to keep some of the outline of the wheel, so instead I'll keep the rendering and would change the blend mode to a screen mode, which will keep some of the wheel color and merge it with the color of the video clip. And now when we go back, we have the animation running, and we have the video playing underneath, masked by the composition. Most of the time when using Watchout, you program by putting cues on what's known as the main timeline. The main timeline organizes the cues in your presentation in a sequential way along the time axis and layer them on top of each other in terms of the layers. And this is great for most kinds of shows. However, in many cases, it's too inflexible to look at the show as just a linear timeline. There may be certain aspects of the show that you have really no idea when they are going to show up or if they are going to be shown at all. So you may prefer to have more like a smorgasbord where you can pick and choose different modules of the show and start them in any order, or even overlap them on top of one another. And that's exactly what you can do by using the multiple timeline capabilities of Watchout. To use multiple timelines, you start by opening the task window. The task window lists all the timelines that are used in